Alright, received the email about weapons in martial arts and the training, my feedback on it. I'm going to read the message. It says, I have a video request on your thoughts and opinions on the weapons aspect of martial arts, and do you feel it is the highest expression of the martial way when it comes to the combative element of the arts? For instance, do you have the opinion that when it comes to this level of the arts with weapons, the size of an individual isn't an issue? In fact, perhaps the larger the person, the more detriment and trouble there is due to their size and weight. Should they have physical advantages like more strength and power, but are slower in reaction time and more easy to hit because of the extra mass that they have to defend, and it only takes a few hits with the weapon, whether it be a sword or a gun, no matter how big someone is, to go down, like when it comes to, say, sword fighting back in the ancient times? Wouldn't it be beneficial to be a smaller stature because of the speed, agility, better movement, and oftentimes superior technique advantage, like the story of the swords master in Japan taking on 10 or more opponents and defeating them? And I'm sure they had size on him, especially combined all together. Alright, the highest level in the expression of the martial arts. The weapons is definitely a part of the martial arts training, but it changes things very dynamically. What this person stated, I generally do agree with. Size really doesn't matter when it comes to weapons training, and essentially it depends on the weapon, but specifically when it comes to firearms, the smaller person does have a slight advantage because there is less surface to shoot at, so it's just a smaller target. So when you have somebody who's really large, there's a large target that you can hit, and usually people that are larger, they're just easier, they're usually slower, not all the time, but usually they are. So they do a larger surface area and they move slower, it gives them less of an advantage. The smaller person has an advantage because there's a smaller target and they usually will move faster. So just think about the difference between like trying to shoot a mouse opposed to trying to shoot an elephant, trying to shoot a squirrel opposed to trying to shoot a cat. Trying to shoot, a cat opposed to trying to shoot a big dog. The bigger thing that you have to be able to shoot, the easier it'd be to hit the person, hit the object. Even if the object is really, even if the animal is very powerful, like a lion, because it's so big, it wouldn't be hard to miss the lion because it's so large. It's a powerful animal, but it's just something so big that it's going to be easy to hit the lion with the bullet, opposed to trying to shoot a mouse, okay, or a rabbit, and power doesn't really matter at that moment, especially when it comes to human beings, because you shoot the human being just one good shot at a right spot, then they're pretty much going to die. You don't need to shoot them 50 times. So just one shot will slow them down and potentially kill them. So power at that moment and strength has really nothing to do with it. When it comes to weapons, speed and accuracy and precision is extremely important over strength and power. Just think about two people facing off in a gun battle. One person pulls and shoots quicker, aims and be very, very precise. At that moment, it doesn't matter if the person that got shot and killed because he's slower has a 45 caliber gun or a 50 caliber gun, or is a Desert Eagle, or that he could bench press 500 pounds or squat 600 pounds. It doesn't matter. The speed, precision, and accuracy, reflexes, and awareness at that moment comes into play. And really, the smaller person does have an advantage when it comes to the firearms. When it comes to sword fighting, the person that has a longer range will have that advantage. So the smaller person, when it comes to sword fighting, really doesn't have the advantage because he lacks range. The person that has more range, who could reach further with the sword, is going to have an advantage when it comes to those weapons. When it comes to the sword, when it comes to knives, when it comes to stick fighting, no matter if it's the double sticks or the long staff, okay, then the taller people will have an advantage because of their range. And you can test out these theories in, say, sparring, which we do in this school. You have people spar with staffs. You can have people spar with sticks, have people spar with swords, obviously training swords. and you'll see what I'm talking about. The taller person might have an advantage, but it doesn't mean that they're always going to win. It just means that they have an advantage when it comes to range. But the smaller person can make up for the lack of range with speed and agility and quick reflexes, good technique, and things of that nature. Just like it's just not that just because someone's taller, he's automatically going to outrun somebody shorter. That's not the case. But the people that are taller typically will have an advantage when it comes to longer strides. That's why Usain Bolt was able to beat everybody in history, because not only was he fast, but he was tall. And everybody else, they're shorter, they're fast as well, but they just can't beat them because they don't have that range in their step, in their stride. So it depends on the weapon, it depends on the individual. Certain situations, a smaller person will have an advantage. Talking about a bow and arrow, you're talking about guns, smaller person should have an advantage. Nunchucks, same thing, it goes back down to the range. Those few inches does make a big difference. But another thing is a lot of it is technique. Somebody that is short but knows how to use the weapon properly and know how to use the most out of his height, get the most out of his height, will have an advantage over a tall person who doesn't know how to use the weapon and doesn't know how to use his height to his advantage. So weapons training could just go in any direction. It's just so spontaneous, so unpredictable. It's the most unpredictable part of the martial arts training and the sparring. Like, anything could happen, and because it is so much anything can happen, a lot of people don't really focus too much on the weapons because it's just not fun. Because people like to get good at something and dominate, but you can't really do that with weapons. Like, you can never really truly dominate somebody with weapons, because the variables are just too much, and it's just way too difficult to dominate with weapons. Because that's just the nature of how weapons is. That's why a lot of people focus on the unarmed combat, because it is something that you could perfect and dominate a lot of people with, because there's just a lot of things that are involved when it comes to unarmed combat, that need to be developed. That's beyond just, being quick with your reflexes and things like that, But, that's what I have to say about that. The weapons training is great to know it, it's great to be good at it. But the funnest part of the training is the unarmed combat training for me. Doing the safe sparring, unarmed safe sparring is the funnest part. We spar with, we do gun training, we do sword training, and we do nunchuck training, and we do staff training, and we train with all these different weapons, but it's just not as fun. Everybody has what they like and what they don't like. But as you start training with these weapons, you'll see, for yourself, what the outcome is. Anytime you have these sorts of questions, it's good to test it out. Test it out against taller people, test it out against shorter people, test it out against people that have experience, test it out against people that don't have experience. And you see, it just goes, anything could happen. Like, you play paintball, you go paintball, and you'll see, it's impossible not to get shot. You're eventually gonna get shot. And you sword spar with somebody, you're eventually gonna get stabbed. You're eventually gonna get, sliced, no matter how good you are. And that goes with any weapons. With the nunchucks, sparring with the nunchucks, somebody's eventually gonna hit your hand. And it's very difficult, to have any consistency when it comes to weapons. That's why you don't see any combat sport that's big with weapons that's popular in entertainment. You don't see people sparring with fake nunchucks and then having that be a big thing that everybody watches. Nobody cares about that. You don't have people doing firearms, where to see who could shoot each other quicker, and then have that be nationally televised and have like millions of dollars be made out of it, like a boxing match. You don't see that. You don't see people going at each other with bows and arrows, or or sticks. There's no weapons that's popular in any country. You know, where people make that a huge thing that everybody wants to pay to come watch. You know, there's boxing, there's wrestling, there's cage fighting, there's kickboxing, there's Muay Thai, there's Taekwondo. Everything when it comes to competitive sports, it deals with no weapons. Everything that's popular. There's nothing in America or in any country where they use weapons where it's really a big thing, and then everybody's excited about it and everybody wants to watch. I mean, you think about fencing. Fencing is one of the ones that is in the Olympics, but how many people like fencing, and how much money do fencers, professional fencers make, or is there even such a thing as professional fencers? You know, so you don't see the popularity in it because there really is no consistency. You could be training with weapons for all your life, and then somebody just gets a lucky hit on you, or it's not even luck, but you just can't dominate because the nature of weapons training is just so spontaneous, so just, you know, you just cannot dominate it. You just can't. You know, that's just the nature of what weapons is. Somebody could be shooting guns his whole life, go to the firing range all the time, but, you know, he will lose a gun battle, you know, eventually, you know, because that's just how weapons training is.